it'll go away. But unattended to, we've come to see it doesn't go away, does it? Like our present situation, it'll go away. But unattended to, we've come to see it doesn't go away, does it? Like our present situation, it'll go away. But unattended to, I'm not talking. We've come to see it doesn't go away, does it? Like our present situation, it'll go away. But unattended to, I'm not talking. We've come to see it doesn't go away. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we're good now, Rinpoche.
I seem to be in the twilight zone of a causality loop. That was very good. Maybe I was onto something about this universality of one body, one consciousness, and that consciousness and that body being affected, diseased. I wish we had a cure. It's like a festering spore that has affected all of us, isn't it? I don't know about you, but how could your heart not be saddened when you are sick or a family member is sick? We are all sick. As I was saying, the phrase goes that when one of us loses our freedom and one of us is oppressed by the tyranny of tyrannical individuals, then we all suffer. Granted, we're not suffering to the degree that our brothers and sisters and our mothers and fathers are doing so in Ukraine and in Russia and throughout Europe. Most of you have traveled in Europe. Can you imagine being in Germany, being in France, being in Portugal, Latvia, Poland, all of these places where we have various acquaintances? Disease, they're not at ease, nor are we at ease, even though we function under the illusion that we are. But as I was saying, going back to that concept of being fearless, we do not fear the ramifications of our actions in their long term. We're very short-term thinkers. What can I get today? As opposed to looking at the ramifications of our actions and how they may affect us tomorrow, but not just affect us, but you know, the butterfly effect. How does it affect others? So trying to find some sensibility in my own heart, my own mind. And as I was about to prepare for the day, then I thought, what can we do? What can I do individually? I can look at the good that is happening. Maybe you just said, akaka, oh my God. What is our world coming to? Well, it's always been like this to a degree. It's now, for those of us who grew up and were imprinted by the 60s and the 70s, I think the phrase was, the whole world is watching and the revolution will be televised. I know some of you remember this. The whole world is watching and the revolution will be televised. Now the whole world is watching and the war is being televised. Marshall McLuhan, a very forward thinker, his predictions are right. Medium is the message, and that our technology has far outstripped our emotional development. He was saying we can put someone, as the SAP starting to say, let's create colonies on Mars. Isn't that funny? Let's think about creating colonies on Mars, and we can't even converse with the neighbor next door. So funny. But I should amend that. You don't have to converse with them. You can Skype them, you can WhatsApp them, you can WeChat them, you can Twitter them, you can FaceTime them and Facebook. Then, new language I'm learning, perhaps even you can ghost them. And if you want to ghost them, then you can gaslight them. I'm still trying to figure out. When I hear the word ghosting, I see a ghost. Okay. Gaslight. Oh, I'm in the gaslight district in San Francisco. No, in San Diego. Don't you think it's a funny, absurd world? And the reason I put it forth in that way, because don't look at just the dark side. There's so many wonderful things, so many wonderful people. There's always going to be the samsaric turbulence and upheaval and negativity. But I think we also have to look at what good now is coming out of this virus, the virus of war, the virus of oppression, the virus of acquisition, and the virus of silence. Maybe that's the worst one. The violence of silence. So as practitioners of the Dharma, really? So I heard the old preacher, he said you should say, listen and be silent, and you shall hear and you shall know. Take a breath in. And that old preacher sitting in those wooden pews in Selma, Alabama, and he would pause and look around. And sometimes he would take his white handkerchief and he would wipe his forehead. And he would ask us to listen and be silent. And then maybe he would say, what did you hear? And in your listening and in your silence, was there loving kindness and compassion in your heart? You probably think for the person sitting next to you, or the one that lives next door, sharing your yard. But I'm not asking you about that. It's starting with yourself. Do we have loving kindness and compassion and joyousness and equanimity for the person who is looking, who is listening? So I thought, did you reach out to someone yesterday? Or perhaps this morning? Did you call someone who perhaps is quite disturbed about all of the events that are happening in our world? And if you haven't, then I know you will before the day is out. Please do. How many people are unnerved, and as a result, their own perceptions may be clouded, that they will engage in actions that will only create more harm and more suffering and more strife. So look at the good that's happening around us. From a small boy, having spent some time in various parts of the world, and I'd like to talk about Alabama, because it was one of those formative or pivotal points, I think, in my development, and being able to see firsthand what was racial prejudice.
Guess I'll put my other ear in.
I hope my voice doesn't echo. What is racial prejudice? What is hatred? What is violence? A small taste, but not to the degree that others may have. So knowing those things and seeing, I think it was yesterday or day before, it always has to be tailored with the first Black person to do this, the first woman to do that, the first Asian, or the first this or that. Why can't I just be a human being like we are designed to be, engaging in our various endeavors and dreams, love, etc.? But we must look at these distinctions because I think they also denote the progress we have made. Can you imagine living in Selma, Alabama? If you don't know what Selma, Alabama, you can look at the movie Selma. It's a good rendition. You have no idea about water hoses and dogs and polices and people being beaten and dragged off and crosses burning and Ku Klux Klan and shotguns. You have no idea about those things. But here, at least we have a society that steps up and says, isn't it by time a human being who happens to be a woman, who happens to be of color, is now nominated for the Supreme Court? That's amazing. I can hear those old people just going, my, honey. Can you believe what happened? Woo. They would talk like that sometimes, and I would go in my room and I would try to imitate them because those old people, they were quite wise. So, and I mean not to stereotype anyone, but I'm really trying to give you a flavor. This is how I grew up, and this is what I'm seeing now. My first encounter, these thoughts just come to my head. My first encounter of understanding or having any heard of Ukraine or Kiev, I may have said to you, there's a composer, Mussorgsky, which I think I first played maybe in junior high school or high school, Pictures at an Exhibition. Maybe you know this piece, Pictures at an Exhibition. Yeah. The hut on fowl legs, meaning chicken legs. The hut of the Baba Yaga is called a hut of the Baba Yaga. And the last picture in this exposition is the great gates of Kiev. The great gates of Kiev must not fall. The great gates of, your hair should stand up in tears. The great gates of Kiev must not fall. Because when those golden gates do fall, then we're all in jeopardy. It may not be now, but eventually. Because it's talking about the right for individuals to govern their destiny. But haven't we heard this again and again and again? But we are learning, I would like to think, and that's why Judge Johnson, is that we can see change. That perhaps there's some type of negotiation or dialogue or talking beginning that will allow some sanity to come out of these various events. It's so strange. This is small. I go into Smith's and I like to bless all of the fruit, and to bless all of the people. And sometimes I just want to play with the cart and get on the back and ride down the aisles. And sometimes I do, to make sure nobody's looking. Why is that fool doing that? That's what my mother would say, stop it. But we have to start somewhere, don't you think? So I would ask myself and ask you is to look to the positive things, the wonderful things that are happening around you. And perhaps today, at least go and say hello to your neighbor. How are you doing? Or someone passes in the street, smile. As I was talking about Smith the other day, so this gentleman and his wife, I said hello to him and I had my mask on, but they did not. So it's not my business. You have to do what you feel is correct for you. But then he did comment. He made a gesture to his face, and I went, "What's wrong with you?" He said, "You still have your mask on." And I just said, "Yes, I do. You have a wonderful day, sir." And I went away. So we are so divided and fearless, as I said, fearless in the face of how we engage our actions, fearless in how our actions affect others. So as you go through the day with mindfulness and awareness, with loving kindness and compassion, become fearful in a good way, fearful that my actions just might be the causality of some distant ramification. Now, we didn't particularly cause the conflicts, which is one in the world today. But then I thought, going back to that concept of a larger body, if the majority of that body and its consciousness begins to engage in loving kindness and compassionate thoughts, which we know are healing, it has been measured. And then if enough parts of that body engage in that type of thought process, might it just be the butterfly effect? Perhaps people around the world are now waking up. It may be on my doorstep next, so we can't continue to look away. And granted, we have to navigate it very carefully, strategically, with a great amount of finesse, which we're going to have to learn how to communicate. Before this session is over, someone will be trying to reach out to you, and you'll hear your phone go off, and you'll go, "Oh, you want to answer it, but you don't want to answer it," and you'll wait for an appropriate time. Someone has reached out to connect to you. So may we do the same thing, is reach out and connect to someone else, but with a purposeful intent. I want to connect to that other human being. I want to say, even though these may be dire times, we can still talk together. We can discuss our differences together. We don't have to kill each other and be the oppressor or oppress others for our own arrogance and pride and greed, and who knows what the other manifestations or ramifications happen to be. So from this moment on, what type of person will we be? Remember the old preacher, he says, "I will leave that to you to decide." You have to come to the pulpit and sit upon the pew and decide, who will I be? I had to get up in the morning, and I hope you say in the morning, I will be a loving, kind, and compassionate person. I will try to engage. No, I won't try. I will engage in that to a greater degree today than I did yesterday. I will make sure before this day passes that I at least reach out and talk to one person and say, "How are you doing? Is there any way that I can be of help to you?" And if you hear a certain resonance or reserve or worry, then perhaps in some way with your voice you can say, "Not to worry. It's going to be okay. We will get through this moment. But we won't get through it by putting our head in a hole." So Dharma, you follow the Dharma, then we have to look into the face of the truth. One truth we must look into the face is that we're one step closer to the grasp of Yama than we were a few minutes ago. That old movie, Shake Hands with the Devil, shake hands with Dharma, shake hands with Yama. It's interesting. Yama Dharma, the path that leads us to death. Shake hands with it and become friends. And do what? Live. So not to keep talking and blah, 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 because we have many things we need to do. Just let's live today. Enjoy the life you have. His Holiness says when he gets up in the morning, he says, I am blessed. I get up, I go, I am blessed. I look out my door and I see the mountain and the children playing in the parks. I am blessed. In the snow, I am blessed. I will be a kind person today. It doesn't matter what you call me. There's nothing you can call me that I haven't already been called. And I'm still trying to pick which one of those I want to be called. So it doesn't matter. What matters is that I have made a choice to be a kind person. So I'm asking each one of you to be a kind person. Even when you're sleeping in your dreams, if you're harming I've had dreams, you're harming someone, you stop. Stop. You don't even create harm in your dreams. But as we say, it's all a dream, isn't it? So wherever you find yourself, dream, but dream with loving kindness. And in an alternate reality of quantum field possibilities, there is no war. There is peace, there is happiness, there's harmony, there is love. So I will think about that reality that's existing, even in the face of the present one that is existing, saying that even with these dynamics, it is bringing about a possibility of something else. The whole world is talking now, isn't it? The virus was a collective experience for all of us. Now war is a collective experience for all of us. And maybe the universe is saying, sooner or later, all of you with free choice will wake up that it is one body, as I was saying, from that teacher at Fordham University. We are of one body, one dependent, interdependent, dependent relationship. That one consciousness is interlinked to another consciousness and so forth and so on. Again, we know all of these theories, whether they are metaphysical or physical, that we are all interconnected, but we act as though we're separate entities and what I do doesn't affect someone else, but it does. Again, Willie Gardner, the master, she says, what you do may not be discovered and known by others, but what you do is known by you. And she'd walk away. What is she talking? Okay. Then the pearly gates, the gates of Kiev, the old picture which says, when we come before the gates of heaven, we will all be nude and all will be known. I used to be terrified by that. It's like, oh my goodness, all will be known when I stand before the gates of heaven. Padlocks, accommodations, can't get in, go the other way. Just kidding. But again, it's a yogic statement because it's saying strip away the falsity of our illusions and look at ourselves in a very honest way and go forth from there. Our honesty is that of dishonesty because we don't want to feel really what's going on. So take a breath in this morning, once again. Breathing out. What is going on? What's going on right now is each one of us is sitting in a very comfortable place and we can go to the bathroom, we have water, we have food. We're not getting onto a train trying to escape our country, not yet. We're not wondering what we're going to do and how we're going to feed our children. And isn't it so strange to be in a subway tunnel thinking you're going to be bombed? You're not waiting for the train. You're just trying to exist, trying to stay alive. So many images that we could use as a metaphor, maybe to bring us, to trick us. I cannot do anything about what's happening in Ukraine per se, other than to pray, but I can start generating thoughts of loving kindness, compassion today. And who knows, as more and more individuals stand up and go, there's got to be a better way, then eventually, as we can see, change is inevitable. Whether we wish to engage in change or not, change will occur. It is the nature of the universe. And those who do not change according to the dynamics of a given situation or circumstance will cease to exist. Last thing from the professor at Fordham University. He says, the universe is very clever. And this planet has a consciousness of its own. And he said it was a disturbing thought that the planet existing in this multiverse will, what's a good word? Will liberate itself. Will liberate itself from the cancerous growth that has infected it. And perhaps it will go dormant, as it has done, the universe, for millenniums upon eons and kalpas. And at the appropriate time, it will reemerge anew. And now this is New York City, and he had to make a joke, and the only thing will be left in that liberation will be the cockroach. And if you know the history of the cockroach, it can live through anything. And so when he said that, I thought, then I will be cockroach. And have the attitude to survive. But if we're going to be cockroach, then I want to be cockroach with loving kindness and compassion, joyousness and equanimity. And even in the face of adversity, one doesn't lose faith and the trust and the devotion. So maybe enough said for me battling about, but I do. And what we'll do today, so many things. Desmond Tutu, Thich Nhat Hanh, Yonsei, Dorjen Rinpoche Yonsei. Many great masters just in this month, poof, have decided time to go, but not necessarily at the same time to go. And on Yonsei, Dorjen Yonsei, I saw one picture. It's an interesting picture. You have it in your Nundro text. Guru Rinpoche, Dorjen Lingpa, Dorjen Rinpoche, Lama Kazi Rinpoche, then his student, me. But then behind Yonsei, Dorjen Rinpoche, there's a picture of his previous incarnation, Dorjen Rinpoche. So I saw Dorjen Rinpoche's picture, and then I go, but I have sat and met the Yonsei of Dorjen Rinpoche, and also I know his teacher, Lama Dawa Rinpoche. And then I just thought, oh, so fortunate. May you all be blessed. What does Guru Rinpoche say? And I know today is, well, yesterday was, I believe, the Kini Day. And I thought we could do that because the activity of Dharma that's expressed through the Dakinis definitely needs to multiply. But then Sopa Rinpoche, who I also met directly and received teaching, Sopa Rinpoche. So Rinpoche and many of the other high learned Rinpoches and lamas and masters are saying Guru Rinpoche, Rinzan Drupa, Guru Rinpoche mantra, Guru Rinpoche 7-line prayer. It would be good to do today. Guru Rinpoche to Yeshe Sogel. Listen once again. The reason why people don't turn their minds away from worldly pursuits is because they don't understand cause and effect and the characteristics of samsara. The cause of samsara is failing to abandon the dualistic fixation of a self-entity. Since within the awakened state of mind, self and other beings are one. People who discriminate between self and others have no sense. Since each and every being of the three realms, one after the other, have been your loving parents. People who regard others as either enemy or friend have no sense. Since at this time we must make the separation between samsara and nirvana, people who find the time to tend to worldly pursuits have no sense. Since this life lasts only for a short time, like a sojourn of a traveler. Large. People who busy themselves with building houses and mansions have no sense. Since this body is filled with impure substances and cannot bear even the touch of a thorn, people who cling to it as being themselves have no sense. Anyway, he goes on and on and on, and perhaps I just open and to see what Rinpoche had to say. And so all I am is a parrot trying to expound upon what the great masters say so simply. So maybe these words make some sense to you. And Lama Kazi then he would say, this doesn't mean that we don't engage in the relativeness and attachment of enjoyment to our temporary existence. But when it becomes our only existence, and we see that those material things are the manifestation of our intrinsic happiness, then that's what Rinpoche is talking about. Not that you have to let go of your loved ones or your pets or your families or acquiring to be educated and all. He's not saying that. He's just saying, look deeper though, that those are merely the outer coverings that are so fleeting that if we don't go to the root of the cause and the root of the matter, then there's no end to suffering, regardless of how much money or a job or bigger house or relationship. And you already know all these things. But now the universe is quite clever. If I don't get your attention one way, then maybe I need to up the stakes until we learn, as Guru Rinpoche said, we're one. And what happens to one affects all of us. Whom will we affect with an A? Whom and who will you, me, affect today? I will make it my business. I will call someone. Hello, how are you doing? As I said to my neighbors yesterday, thank you, Sean. Sean bought me flowers so I could give to the neighbors. So I go visit Emmalou. That doesn't sound like Alabama. Emmalou. Emmalou plays the piano. Emmalou and Bob. In the 80s, maybe I'll make it, who knows? But I come to find out Bob is losing his sight. But he has such a heart that sees. And his wife said, you probably didn't know Bob is blind, he can barely see. And I just said, he sees with his heart. And we just looked at each other with our hearts. So I thank Bob. May you look at yourself with your heart. May you have eyes of acceptance. And when you pass someone today, as Guru Rinpoche just said, oh, there's my mother. There's my auntie. There's my father, my sister, my brother. I love them. May they be happy and may they never suffer. Take a breath in. Breathing out, rest. Let your troubles and worries fall away. You can pick them up later today. But for now, as that old preacher would say, be at peace and harmony within. Be that way, and he would say, my brothers and sisters. Allow it to linger, allow it to stay. Breathe it in like a fragrant of a fine flower. And when you breathe out, maybe let it be like petals spewed through the space. And each one of those petals turns into a monarch butterfly and flies away. Rest your mind. But resting my mind, Guru Rinpoche appears inseparable from our teachers. So therefore, it's easy to say. for the benefit of all sentient beings, especially for those who are now under the yoke and the sway of tyranny. Most precious Guru, please think of me. Bestow the blessings that will free and ripen my mind, so that I may realize as quickly as possible for the benefit of all sentient beings. Most precious Guru, please think of me. Bestow the blessings that will free and ripen my mind, so that I may realize as quickly as possible for the benefit of all sentient beings. Most precious Guru, please think of me. Bestow the blessings that will free and ripen my mind, so that I may realize as quickly as possible for the benefit of all sentient beings. So as I said, despair and hopelessness is the bondage that usurps our freedom. Who creates it? By looking outside, we do. So as you go through this day, and one likely you'll listen to the news, and it was quite disturbing this morning. I won't even go into it. But when you say Namo Lama La Kapsucho, Zenge La Kapsucho, Jo La Kapsucho, Gina La Kapsucho, maybe you'll understand when Lama Kazi said to us many years ago, which now it's just a sham. Someone says, oh, you practice this Buddhist stuff. And they put a gun to your head. And they said, if you don't renounce your Buddhist practices, I shoot you. Go ahead. Because you have only lessened and curtailed the vehicle. But the consciousness will always have compassion for you, because your suffering will be greater than you can even imagine. So I will not acquiesce to what you're saying. Isn't that what the people of Ukraine should make you think? If someone says you must defend, Sandy, you must defend your neighborhood. Here's some ammunition and an AK-47. Put your Facebook down, put your phone down, etc., and pick up this instrument of destruction, because your very way of life, your very way of being is being suppressed. So they are not giving up their faith. I'm sure you must have seen, it's a wonderful, touching picture. I think it may be about 7 in various degrees of kneeling in an open square, praying. And then the president, who is quite wonderful, he says, please pray, but what we need now is your actions. So we will pray, but what actions can we do? That takes me back to the beginning. Before this day is over, someone needs to hear from you. I can start by being a good person right now, and I can reach out and be a good person, good human being to someone else, regardless of who they happen to be. And I can make a connection and start, because we're all connected. The people of Ukraine, the people of Russia, the people of Poland, the people of Bruxelles, Northern France. All of these places are so, Latvia, Liechtenstein, right? If you know these places, link up. So today, each one of you must be Guru Rinpoche. We make a chain link of Guru Rinpoche encircling the planet. And Guru Rinpoche is sending laser beams of offering of body, speech, and mind, right? Sending laser beams. At a metaphysical level, somehow I would like to think it has an effect. Someone will be touched somewhere. Namo Lama La Kapsucho, Sangha La Kapsucho, La Kapsucho, Gina La Kapsucho, Lama La Kapsucho, Sangha La Kapsucho, La Kapsucho, Lama laga dojo, senge laga dojo, jo laga dojo, laga dojo, lama laga dojo, senge laga dojo, jo laga dojo, laga dojo, lama laga dojo, senge laga dojo, laga dojo. De lama laga dojo, senge laga dojo, jo laga dojo, laga dojo, lama laga dojo, senge laga dojo, jo laga dojo. Ze lama laga dojo, senge laga dojo, jo laga dojo, laga dojo, lama laga dojo, senge laga dojo, jo laga dojo, laga dojo. Jo laga dojo, laga dojo, lama laga dojo, senge laga dojo, laga dojo, laga dojo, lama laga dojo, senge laga dojo, laga dojo. Ze lama laga dojo, senge laga dojo, jo laga dojo, laga dojo, lama laga dojo, senge laga dojo, jo laga dojo, lama laga dojo, senge laga dojo. Laga dojo, lama laga dojo, senge laga dojo, jo laga dojo, laga dojo, lama laga dojo, senge laga dojo, jo laga dojo, lama laga dojo. Lama laga dojo, senge laga dojo, laga dojo, laga dojo, lama senge laga dojo, jo laga dojo, laga dojo. So again, see if you can go through the day, no matter what. Remember, you have taken refuge. Why? Because sentient beings are infinite. I vow to liberate them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to transcend them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. Buddhist enlightened way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to liberate them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to transcend them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. Buddhist enlightened way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to liberate them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to transcend them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. Buddhist enlightened way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. And we call upon the Bodhisattvas. May you intervene in some fashion, whatever may be possible. It may not be in the manner in which we so desire, but the causality of conflicts and hatred and violence, not until we stop addressing and engaging in a symptomatic approach. And the Buddha says, not until you address the root of the weed will always grow. So what is the root? Again, those things we mentioned earlier, which you already know: anger, ignorance, and desire, and anger, and arrogance, and pride, and greed, etc. Not until we have gone to the depths of the root, these things are going to continue to occur, and we can commercialize, and we can televise, and do all of those things. But as I was saying in my little rambling that I sent to Lamala, not until I change, whether it is relative or not, existing, who knows? But I will use, not until the change is within, then the store or the cancer will always be present. So this day, I hope your anger and your desire, or I should say your ignorance and your desire and anger, and don't think negative. It is just the nature of things, relatively speaking. There is ignorance, not knowing, to ignore, not paying attention, and somehow ignorance has got a bad rap. To ignore, to not pay attention to the manner or the nature or the way things truly are. And so therefore, desire, we think, oh, desire is bad. No, desire is not bad. It is depend on the nature of the desire and how it's understood in its relativeness. And that the desire, what we seek, is happiness. But the happiness is not in what we desire. That's the ignorance, because of its intrinsic, transitory, impermanent nature. And when our desires are not fulfilled, then we become angry. Well, anger in itself can be a great motivator to move us to be more compassionate, to feel the anger and then have the intelligence, skillful means, and wisdom to use it as a motivator to move us in more positive ways. So don't be so quick to ascribe, oh, this is bad, this is good. Step back and look at it in a larger context so that we're not bound by a symptom approach. Like I put Band-Aid on this morning. So we must rip the Band-Aid off. Don't put the Band-Aid on, all right? It's like in Bhutto, when we see a little blood coming from a scratch, oh, so beautiful. So maybe you can recognize like that. But please, all of the Bodhisattvas magnify and bless all of us. Sangye dondang dindong tabe jo gun ba ta jo ta jo ta ye jo do me ga ba dondang dondang jambe ga ba dondang dondang ba dona gombo ta ye ta ba de do ho da 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 ne ne je je na no da de ba ye je ge ba zra ta da de Senzandumbe taji prabe wa dewa sapa gila tazado Zamba junor daben doje jen jen re jen wa lumbo Zamba pero doi ngimbo jemba namaza Nanga nembo majo nondo zo Uba doje bargo nondo dondo borade Nama yi jaze nanam daje daje jo kenzo samba jela daza lo renjen doje daje doje nga dunzo joma gamo gamo da denda dono bonzo bare lu minyo danze do de Rende doje geje daje jen doje gawa Njen geje ma jejon elgo dembe dodewe Aje namo gela jazalo Zamba dambo donzo dembeku Nidon donda tambo donzo so Kage dondo norma mezeza Nando je guru dondo zo dondon Dumdan doje jen baryo dendo doje doje Dazo jeje gele daje me jenden doa yola jazalo Dado denje jowa zongola Yeden jowa jomba gonjo de dondon babla Sendon yeje do daje dele bonzo zombado Dado dende jowa zongola Yeden jowa jowa gonjo de dondon babla Sendon yeje do daje dele bonzo zombado Dado dende jowa zongola Yeden jowa jowa gonjo de Dum babla Sendon yeje do daje dele bonzo zombado Nam Damji Gile John de Doze Beson, Munda Gumbo Ganye Ba, Jinja Jambo Jigizon, the Wada da Zambaye, Sange to Dangi Dona, Chenzo Nebo Jigi, Bada Bada, Negabzu Jishira, Menje Danji Be, Zombe Chenje Donda, Sange Dondo Negede, Zombe Chenja Zangido, Jise Nanga Namba Dan, the Wajise Nebo Ba. Deze doje nego ye do wa terga se wa so 조남담 제길대종 대종 제제제배종 불라공보감유바 진종전보 제길종 도와 답답장바이 사비에 도단계 돈라 찬조는보 제길바 다바다네 감수지 주라면제 담제배 sombe 전제 정도 나장계 정도 내게데 sombe 전제 정계도 제세 남가 남바다 노와 제제 내고 바 제제 조제 내고 노와 들가서 와서 조남담제기 대전 대전제제제배 종을 다건도 간여 바제전 전보제계서 노와다다 잠바이 상계도 단계도 나찬조 내보제계 바 다바다네 갑수지 시라면제 담제배 좀배 전전 돈도 다상계 돈도 내게제 좀배 천조 전계도 제제 남가 남바당도와 제제 내고 바 제제 도제 내고 내 도와 들가서 와서 as we've seen in many renditions, one I just saw recently is Buddha is sitting in a deep meditation samadhi by a pool of water, and out of the pool of water, Mara comes and sits before the Buddha and proclaims his superiority and that he cannot be defeated. And so in my version, the Buddha opens his eyes, and his eyes become like the pools of water that reflect back the face of Mara. And he says to Mara, I am not fooled by thee. You are not separate from me. I am emptiness, and so are you. And therefore, you and I and we, emptiness. Therefore, you cannot harm me. And Mara dissolves away back into the pool of water. And the Buddha continues to sit in emptiness. What would it have been like to meet the Buddha? Namakaze Rinpoche may have said, why do you ask such a silly question? Look within and rest. 저게 뭐 저와 태백고 저게 여보 추가 잡사로 다했다 오문에 문에 마하문나 예소와 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 다했다 다했다 오문에 문에 마하문나 예소와 오문에 문에 마하문나 예소와 Zomane mane mahamane yezo mane mane mahamane yezo mane mane mahamane yezo Zomane mane mahamane yezo mane mane mahamane yezo mane mane mahamane yezo mane Zomane mane mahamane yezo mane mane mahamane yezo mane mane yezo mane Zomane mane mahamane yezo mane mane yezo mane Zomane mane mahamane yezo mane mane mahamane yezo mane mane mahamane yezo mane mane Zomane mane mahamane yezo mane mane mahamane yezo mane mane mahamane yezo mane mane mahamane yezo Zomane mane mahamane yezo mane mane mahamane yezo mane mane mahamane yezo mane mane mahamane yezo mane mane mahamane yezo Zomane mane mahamane yezo mane mane mahamane yezo mane mane mahamane yezo Zomane mane mahamane yezo mane mane mahamane yezo Zomane mane mahamane yezo mane mane mahamane yezo mane mane mahamane yezo Zomane mane mahamane yezo mane mane mahamane Then we have received the blessings of the Buddha. The blessings of the Buddha is all ever present. Look within and you shall see that the blessings are benefiting each and every one of us. That things are changing in many different ways, even though they may not seem so. So I'd like to imagine that the Buddha is manifesting. Sometimes I say, if you are actually present in terms of your essence, may it come forth in a greater degree because it's forever needed now. But if we look around, we can see that it is. Individuals that would have never spoken up before are now standing up in their own country. And those probably who went about their everydayness and peacefulness are now rising up in arms. And sometimes it takes the affirmativeness or the assertiveness in a particular endeavor in order for it to survive. Even for a flower, with the seed, it must struggle to come into existence. So maybe part of our lesson in this period, in this universe, is to arrive like flowers, to flower and bloom through the various obstacles, so we can truly have the scent and the petals and the radiance of loving kindness and compassion. And perhaps it sounds maybe a little 60-ish, beginning of the 70-ish. We are all flowers. Each and every one of you is a flower. No stinkweed. Flowers. So how will you express your flower today? I wonder. I'm talking to me. So as we bring in now, all the strife and struggle. I said to one student, oh, you're not feeling well today. Don't worry, give it to me. So the great bodhisattvas take in all the negativity into the bluish bindu of space where the awe sits upon the brilliant moon, radiating loving kindness and compassion in the 10 directions for the oppressed and the oppressor, for the one who is suffering and the one who is causing the suffering. That old phrase, as I said the other day, the oppressor and the oppressed live in the same house. The prisoner and the jailer occupy the same building, don't they? Practice Tunlin, you know how. breathing out. And even though the duration of the practice was short, if a butterfly flew past, you would remember it. You see it. That is to say, every positive thought has an effect somewhere, somehow. We don't need to know. That's ego. What we do need to know is our ability to make a choice, to be a positive force, starting with our thoughts and our actions and our speech in this universe. Rest your mind. And as you rest your mind, there's no need to look in or out or behind. The essence of the Buddha is ever present. Breathing out. 요와간도 연단 람마다 루메조게 발라도 조젠 차단 남제 먼저 내조 제제 로바 노조조 엄마 엄마 so we touch the body, the speech, and the mind. And maybe you should also think your navel center, which I like to attribute with knowledge and wisdom, that these areas are being awakened, cleansed, and purified, empowered, the empowerment, so that you have the ability to work for the benefit of other sentient beings, your brothers, your sisters, your mothers, your fathers, that you do so with loving kindness and compassion that emanates from your actions, from your speech, and from your thoughts, and from your knowledge, and from your wisdom. And this wonderful vessel that we have. So Imalu was talking about her husband. They have been who knows how many years, 60 years together. And he made a joke. He says, every time I go to the doctor, they put this 10-inch needle into my eyeball. And then he laughed. And we sort of came to a statement is that how precious life is and how tenacious life will seek to survive. So focus on your precious vessel and all of its various attributes, channels, nadis, chakras, and inner winds. Breathe in to cleanse and purify. Umedama hiduparawa, hidupagatahayo, hatapakensa, yunoroha, ilvamenemaha, namana, doha, zabadra samaya, za, namo, Ritsa Ramani, Bhava Daye Soha. The Badra Samaya Laza Amrita Kundite Hanna Hanna the and exactly of Vincent Rupa or just Guru Rinpoche. You just Guru Rinpoche is the manifestation of all. Is you please come and be present. Ranji the only also Jobe Lama Dan Dixobe Gunjan Jodier Gabo Gunjan Jo Dudzir Garia Midzo wa Mebe Gudnun Gudnam Ka Badza Sama Sangye Dodan Soke Chonamba Chenjo Badu Dani Gabzo Joge Jodange Joda Benze Zange Jobazo Zange Dodan Zoge Jodama Chenjo Badu Dani Gabzoji Taji Zenzoge Bezo Nange Jola Benze Zange Jobazo Zange Jodan Zoge Jodama 천주바도 다니가 주지 다지 전속이 배조 남게 조가 변제 성게 조바쇼 this 사홍당호 조시나라나 템바그 바자 사마야 Zoom Badruzatu Samaya, Manuvalaya, Badruzatu Denova, the Dubova, Sudogayo Babova, Subogaya Mabova, Anarado Mebova, Zawazidi Mebrea, Zaragamadu, Situm Guru, Sarada Bagada Badramani Muzovende Bava Mahazamaya, Zadua, Badruzatu Samaya, Manuvalaya, Badruzatu. The Mabo was a dog, I am a boa, the book, I am a boa, and a rat of Mabo was always in the way of the son. So to medicines and go, so what I forgot of the Roman was open the boa. So my Yozado, Madruzado, Zamaya, Manovada, Yabaduzado, then over the do. To the guy of Mabo was a guy of Mabo, and a rat of Mabo was over the way of the son of the medicines and go. Bhagavata Varadagata Varumana Muzavenda Goa Mahasama Yasavada Padrisatu Samaya Manavaya Padrisatu Tubugaya Mabua Naradu Nabua Zavazili Nebrayadu Zarada Mazudu Meditu Guru Salada Gata Varumana Muzavenda Goa Mahasama Yasavada Padrisatu Samaya Manavaya Yamaboa, Naradunabo, over city, Nebra, others are a Mazume, Setum Sirum Guru, whom Ho Bagawan, so that Udomen the Boa Mahazama Yazado, Don Padrozadu, Namayamana, your mother's other than all the Anaradu was over city, Nebra, others are a Mazume, Setum Guru, whom Bagawan, Samaya Sadu Vanamadu Zadu Namaya Manavala Yabadu Zadu Denabadi Naradu Mebu was a wizard in every other Zarada Mazu Metan Guru Sadada Gata Barman was over the Boa Maha Samaya Sadu Gilwadi Duje Zumba Duje no one Dinezela show. Baza Mahasri Haraga, Dine Doje Torva Guru, Ram, Zom Sarva Dudo Sarva Dhamma Sude Sudo, Domen and Doje, Ninja, Gijay, and the Dhamma Kado Dorum, Bum, Jungle. Go, Gume Pate Sapari Barzata Madla, Namo Savadata Gata, you Bishu Mugu de Savadata Mogate Saparana and the Gama. So, Namo Savadata Gata by Mishu Mugu de Savata Mogate Saparana and the Gama. So, Namo Savadata Gata by Mishu Mugu de Savata Mogate Saparana and the Gama. So, Gada Nane Gada no Bume pate gare liberate all the negative qualities, to liberate them. Really, the negative qualities, as we all know, is the poisons that lie within. And not until those are liberated, the suffering will always manifest without. Zarba, Dhamma, Zubde, Zudo, no, Dumme, Dende, Doje, Nine, Jang, Jewe, Nanda, Dorma, Kato, Doro, Nono, Bonzo, Zomba, Dunjan, Gozo, Jan, Bodu, Se, Oma, Sarabuturaga, Saraza, Sarabuturaga, Saraza, Sarabuturaga, Saraza. Saba Ningene, Namo Saba Dadagadaba, Yumisha Mugube, Saba Dakamugute, Saparana, Ram Grihana in Balita Zaye. Saba Ningene, Namo Saba Dadagadaba, Yumisha Mugube, Saba Dakamugate, Saparana, Iram Grinam Grihana in Balinda, Taye Doha. Saba Ningene, Namo Saba Dadagadaba, Yumisha Mugube, Saba Dakamugate, Saparana, Miram Grihana in Balinda, Taye. So, you now must make a protective circle. We put the barrier or fence around, so we keep the negativities around, away. Sri Nanje Danje Manje Bhad Baje Baje Net Dugo Nanda Dube No Dunye Nanda Sanji. A protective fence around. Senjen Janje Jowa Da Dewa Gonda Duwa Guji Dunyanda Dureje Gonda Duwa Guji Donge Mebe Demba Demba Da Medewa Guji Niba Denda Da Dewa Nendezebe Mela Demba Guji Senjen Janje Jowa Da Dewa Gonda Duwa Guji Dunyanda Dureje Gonda Duwa Guji Dunya Mebe Demba Demba Da Medewa Guji Nure Denda Da Dewa Nendezebe Mela Demba Guji Senjen Jenje Juwa Da Dewa Gonda Duwa Guji Dunya Da Dureje Gonda Duwa Guji Dunya Mebe Demba Demba Da Medewa Guji Nure Denda Da Dewa Nendezebe Mela Demba Guji. So no matter what may happen in our relative lives, that the great bodhisattvas and the bodhisattvas, regardless of what level they may be at, never forsake the four immeasurables. That's why they're called the four, they are beyond measure. What is it beyond measure? Loving kindness and compassion and joyousness and equanimity. And what behaviors and patterns that the bodhisattvas have perfected? Generosity and the patience, perseverance or diligence, concentration, and ethics and wisdom. So these are your tools to go forth, regardless, during pleasant times, during difficult times, even when we see our other brothers and sisters who are like our parents being oppressed and trampled upon, we still do not give up. We don't make a statement like someone said. So it may be like trying to empty the vastness of the oceans with a ladle. No matter how long it may take, we will eventually empty that ocean. This is the resolve that these people in Ukraine have. No matter what, we will die, but you will not suppress us. That type of fortitude we must have, don't you think? So make some dedication. You dedicate yourself to be a champion of loving kindness and compassion. Now that present that you want to buy for yourself, give it away. Sashi Boji Georgia Major Number Balance in it is Zambagi. Sengis and the Medu Buwayi Dogan Nazenda Jubajo, in another Mandu Makana Diane. Sashi Boji Georgia Major Number Balance in it is Zambagi. Sengis and the Medu Buwayi Dogan Nazenda Jubajo, in another Mandu Makana Diane. Saji Boji Georgia Major Number Balance in it is Zambagi. Sengis and the Medu Buwayi. Dogan Nazenda Jubajo, in another Mandu Makana. The Taya Badr Zat Samaya, Mano Palaya, Badr Zat Zenova. Dudu Nabua, Dudu Gay, Nabua, Dudu Gay, Nabua. Anarada Nabua, so was it in the Gray Zara Namas and didn't do. Oh, Balo, Sada, Raman was over the Samaya, Zadua, Badr Zat Samaya, Badr Seven nine three eight. Oh, Burgan, Joji, Nazan, Bema, Gaza, Dumbola, Zatan, Joji, Godrune, Bema, June, Zatura, Godu, Gando, Mambo, Gege, Zatu, Tadrugi, Change, Loje, Zatu, Guru, Bema, Sidi, Home again, Joji, Nazan, Bema, Gaza, Dumbola, Zatan, Joji, Godrune. Bema June Zazudra Gudur Gando Mambo Gurgeke Zazu Dadrugi. Chinji Loje Zazu Guru Bema Sidi. Om again Yuji Nazan Bema Giza Dombola. Yazen Joji Gudune Bema June Zazudra. Gudur Gando Mambo Gurgeke Zazu Dadrugi. Chinji Loje Zazu Guru Bema Sidi. Badla Guru Bema Jozen Sa Badla Sama Ya Za. Then repeat. Re Roman Jogi Yogi Bodang Do Dozo Zange Goji Goguange. Grenzem Gugu Gunzu Dunze Bazo We Name Zela Zawade. Giwa Gandu Yandan Lama Dan Rube Jogi Bala Lojojen. Sadana Jegundon Rizone Doji Jinji Go Fang No Tu. So you should visualize now Guru Rinpoche, his whole entourage, the assemblage of Riharas is in front of us. Sri Maturada Nama Jodegu Dejen Doje Nama Doje Badon Dordo Nama Dubegu Dunzo Doje Chanla Sowade Uringen Rimbo Jela Sowade Gabzen Baje Nejoshen Mentorien Samba Druba Dan Dronda Donde Donde Tu So So you already took refuge, you already established the bodhicitta, so and also a question of time, so we didn't do the Namo Dadam. It's okay. The main thing is now you visualize as many Guru Rinpoches, like rays of the sun through a prism or crystal, need to permeate the totality of space. But in essence, we could think that has already occurred. The moment you think it in a reality of a quantum field, of reality of impossibilities or possibilities, why can't it be that way? That Guru Rinpoche is everywhere. And in the old, if it was possible that the bullets and the guns and the soldiers and everyone would recognize they're one, then it would all turn into peacefulness. I think I saw somewhere where one Russian person and one Ukrainian person, they were embracing because they know they're one. Maybe there will be an awakening somehow. We hope. So now, you are manifesting just as you are. Don't make complicated. You are the essence and the nature and the unity of Guru Rinpoche. Om Bhadra Bhadram Bhadram Bhupe Dupe Aloke Gande Nirvade Shabda Ruta Shabda Gande Rasha Shabashe Tamatata Kutsa Ho. So in your heart space, lotus, sun, and moondisk. And upon that moondisk sits a 9-pronged doji. In the middle of the 9-pronged doji, in the middle is a brilliant Ashura home. And it's surrounded by the life force mantra Om Ahum Bhadra Buddha Padma Siddhi Hum, but it is moving clockwise. And as it does so, the radiant rays of rainbow light, like from a prism, as I stated, go out into 10 directions. One as an offering, then as a blessing, then liberating and transforming, and then receiving back the wisdom and the knowledge of all of the Buddhas of the past, present, and future. And as it occurs for us, again, it's occurring for all sentient beings. We imagine that all sentient beings are being transformed into enlightened Buddhas. Soma Om Bada Guru Dhamma Siddhi Om 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 Bada Guru Dhamma Siddhi Om Om Bada Guru Dhamma Siddhi Om Om Bada Guru Master says, concentrate, persevere. Just a little bit further. Ask again. Don't give up. How many times did you hit the snow and it didn't break? 1,000 times. Hit it again. Oh my, oh my, oh my, oh my. Come on, Bhadra Guru Bhagavate. As Om Ha I U Reve Rele E O Na Kaka Ganga Zada Zanga Dada Dada Om Badu Zadu Zanaya Manabalaya Badu Zadu Janavada So you're still, you are the deity, body, speech, and mind, the essence and nature. And now, in the same way that Guru Rinpoche commanded, and made an oath with the oath-bound ones, the Dhammapalas, please protect the time, the teachings, protect the land, the teachers, and the practitioners. And if it's in any way, Guru Rinpoche, I ask you, as I've asked you on many occasions, please intercede in some way. Maybe you bring some peace and happiness and comfort to just one person who's huddled in the tunnel in our subway. Whatever, we never know. Ask for some miracle. If you don't ask, you'll never receive. So I'm asking. Deba dani damze ge dadun gumbo jen dren Namo Guru Be, Namo Guru Be, Namo Guru Be. Om Shri Denza Hera Ka Ruda Ruda Om Jo Om Te. Dene Bajan Damne Ramjan Gan Dobe Toji Neton Se Tu. Damze Yeze Jime Doze Dren Meze Namge Zoge Guru Gu. This is Ram. Ya. Ah, Om 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 So we're asking, may all obstacles be cleared away. And the greatest obstacles of those that lie within each and every one of us. If you have a copy, which you all probably do, as this came to my mind, is go to the Bodhicharya Tavara, the way of the Bodhisattva, touch it to your head, and open the page wherever you come to, and read that and practice. May we all aspire to be true bodhisattvas, and may we all aspire to be vessels of change and vessels of loving kindness and compassion, and that we recognize our friends and our enemies, those who are different. They are all brother and sister. They are all our mother. They are all our father. So then we just say, Om, Om, Om. May the essence and the nature of the enlightened qualities coalesce into the power of oneness. And that oneness becomes like a ripple from the wing of a butterfly and travels throughout the totality of space, and change, which is inevitable, runs apace. Rest. As you continue to rest your mind, try to imagine if you could walk through the people in the underground, and you might see small children crying and mothers and fathers holding them and telling them it's going to be okay, and the children going, "Mommy, why can't we go home? Dad, what's going on?" And we could just be there with them and go, we don't know how, and it may not come to an end soon, but it will change for the better. We have to have the faith and the trust and the belief. Else we're in slavery, bondage. We have seen change. Rest your mind. You know the phrase from Gandhi, be the change you wish to see in this world. How can we say no war there if we don't start with no war here? Breathe in, breathe out, stay connected. This small community, start here. Don't gossip about each other. Have loving kindness and real caring and compassion for each other. I think about each one of you every day. Play each one of you. May you be blessed. May you not suffer. May you heal. Every day. How can I make sure that they have a future teacher? Because someday, who knows? I won't be here. But I will make sure someone else is. Already laying the seed. So be kind to each other. That's all I'm asking. Not too much. Rinzen lama juju ne doma ne nandu ba dene shila tuba sho. And read him was and was and do ba do wa man do wa ne jen le jen wa jen jo dan jo si se be ga do ba do den good. Do me ga ne ga do gan jo ji gambo gan jo ma do gan bo ji. Jibe me je ga do ma de ne ma je do do jen da jen so. Do me je do ba de go go ne do je de. Change do wa de de do je de. Do do je do ba be. Wa ne do je da jen so. Do jen dan dan den be do be be. Ja dan jo me do be za jen jen. Ngo dan do be jen je we. Nam ye do jen do be de go ji. Zo de zenge ren zenge ge do ge zenge ga do do na den ba ye de be ren ben jen do na. De ben de zenge jen do jen de. Ren ben de zenge go ga de do ren ge zo ren de do do de. Zo nam je ye nam je je ba ye de be na be nam je jen ye jen. Ye je nam do ba ye de be zo da do ba jo. But then do ba de ne jum ba go. No jamba rudo dendo jamba da gundo jumbo dende deje de daje gunje jesu dendo jen give what the dendo ba to. So make the offering of the light, which means you make an offering of yourself. You are the light. Namge da do da ye chen je na ma be chen dun 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 de. Mama du du dun jen ma du ba. Jen je du me so la jen ba no du shu. Da den da me gu je dan ba dan yu yan yu wa di ge yu wa dan. Da zu ma lu dun 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 ne dun dun zeng ge zo la ju ba ju. Den be ba gu la me je be den de zeng ge bu jen jen yu la ge den be dun 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 ju ba ge. Dan ba yu me na be da ji zo. Du den de be den je no jen ba ze du den be na de jen me ne. Su me na me den ba ze de ba ze du du sun dun be zeng ge je. Jen zo sen jo ren bo je ma ge ba nam ge gu je ge ba nam ba me ba ye. Gune gundu gabo zo gazo daye we dojo. Guyan dojo jumbe je dojo nandra red banda me gunzu dambaranda tashi da dejo. Daya da oga de gade better gade better zunga de bodizuwa daya da monga de gade better zunga de bodizuwa. Daya da monga de gade better zunga de bode so. Let go of what is past. We don't know what's coming, but let it go. Even what's happening right now, even though it is so traumatic, again, let that go. Don't try to make anything happen, and don't try to figure anything out. At least for right now. Relax right now. Rest. And maybe the whole world would rest. Just step back for a moment as we seem to be further moving closer and closer to annihilation or destroying ourselves. And the destruction is not happening without, it's happening within. Begin with faith and trust and devotion and belief. The changing begins with each one of us. I will change this day for the better. Would you join me in some fashion? I hope so. Then I emulate His Holiness the Dalai Lama and say, my brothers and sisters, my mothers and father, it is always my pleasure to come before you. And at least you listen to my babble, because who else do I have to talk to? So thank you so much. And it is a wonderful day. The sun is out and the water is flowing through the little stream and the mountains and the snow. How fortunate we are. Please enjoy and share with someone. All right. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Rinpoche.
Thank you, Ramala.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Rinpoche.
Thank you, everyone.
Rinpoche. Thank you.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
I know.